There was major news in college football yesterday. Eugene, Oregon, Dante Moore opting not to go into this year's draft. He will go back to school. He'll project near the top of a loaded quarterback class for 2027. His return makes Oregon one of the favorites for the national championship. It also means Dylan Raiola, who transferred there from Nebraska, at this point would appear to be a backup. So there are a lot of tentacles to this, both college and pro. And we've got Josh Pate here in the Bussin Boys and all that sort of stuff. Pate, I will start with you. I do a podcast every week with Mel Kiper and Field Yates, so I sort of am living in this on a day-to-day basis. They both, particularly Mel, had been imploring Dante Moore, go back to school for another year. There's no question Mel thinks this was the right move for him. Josh, do you?
It's always the right move when a guy comes back to college for me. But even if I remove myself from the college football world, yeah, Greeny, I would say so. I think there's a reason why it seemed like a majority of the most informed minds on the draft side, the NFL side, were imploring him to go back to school. It's because he's an unfinished product. Now, we've seen that before, and yet we've seen very, very unfinished products feel forced to go to the draft. The way our world over here works with NIL now, it makes it such a massive safety net under you to, quote unquote, come back to school and give up those NFL dollars, because reality is you're going to get paid a ton of money to stay in college. But I think you saw glimpses. You saw little windows, little pockets of greatness from Dante Moore this year. You come back, you continue to develop in the same system, and then hopefully you do what a Fernando Mendoza did this year, and you put together streaks and long, consistent pockets of it a year from now, and everyone's singing his praises, and they make a good run in the playoffs, and everyone's sitting at this table a year from now saying, good for him. That's the blueprint now in college football.
Dan, he would have been the second pick in the draft. I think we assume that, even as questionable as his readiness was.
Yeah.
Do you like the decision here quickly?
For his development, yes. I think the two biggest benefactors are the Las Vegas Raiders, unless they're dead set on drafting Fernando Mendoza, because now there's only one quarterback that a lot of people think will go early. So is there a trade candidate? And then the second one is going to be Ty Simpson, who declared for the NFL draft. I think he becomes an automatic top 15 or so pick, but this was the right thing for Dante Moore's development long term.
All right, let me dive into the game here, because we just have the time and I want to get the Bussin Boys in. National championship game, you saw it 4 days away. Indiana, more than a touchdown favorite, playing in Miami's home stadium. Hoosiers have won both playoff games by an average of 34.5 points. Would be the best average point differential by any team during a single playoff run. Better even than Georgia in 2022. Remember, they beat TCU 65-7 in the title game that year. Will Compton, is Indiana one win away from putting together the kind of season that we will talk about with the greatest seasons in the history of college football?
Absolutely. I was talking about with Josh and Taylor yesterday. Like, this is a season, if they wrap it up, go 16-0, 20 years from now, when we're looking back, we might be sitting around a fire and we recap all of college football. And there might not be another 16-0 team again with all the parity that's coming to college football, to where we look back and be like, we got to witness this Indiana team, what Curt Cignetti's done in the 2 years that he's been there, but staring at 16-0 season right in the face.
Yeah. Curt Cignetti and the Indiana Hoosiers have changed the landscape of college football in the sense that every coach that is taking on a new head coaching job, the standard is different. It used to be before NIL, I need 3 or 4 years to get my guys in, establish my culture, and then we can go compete for a national championship. This is exactly what Curt Cignetti said as he was reflecting in a postgame. This is absolutely a movie in our future.
Josh, this is a guy who came from James Madison. He brought a whole bunch of his players with him. He came to the losingest program in college football history. And in 2 years, they are one of the best teams we've ever seen. I think a lot of people who don't follow the sport closely are asking, how in the world did he do this?
I think you just laid out part of the blueprint. It's just that most people would have listened to you lay that blueprint out 24 months ago and said, that's not going to work. You know, because it's such a talent-focused business, the business of winning in college football. It's all about recruiting rankings. It's all about draft projections, and those things matter. This hasn't rendered those obsolete. What it's done is, I think it sort of walked in the studio, it took one of the spotlights, and it shifted it over towards the things that have always mattered and always should matter. And those are just basic team dynamics. It's chemistry, it's development, it's synergy, it's togetherness. It's all the things that sometimes ignorant people call cliches or coach speak, that in reality are success principles in team sports. And like, what I love about this, Greeny, is yes, this is one of, if not the greatest stories we've seen pending they win Monday night, which we'll talk about in a second. But the second thing is everyone always seems to be chasing some model. For a long time, they chased the Belichick model in the NFL, for example. They chased the Saban model in college football. Hey, one of the net positives, if Indiana pulls this off, if college football collectively decides to strive to achieve the Indiana model, they'll probably fall short. But at least they'll be chasing the right things for a change, so I welcome that.
Is the quarterback, in your mind, he's going to be the #1 pick in the draft? Is he a surefire NFL prospect?
I'm not there yet. I haven't studied him enough yet. I think there's a lot of things to like. He's big. He's athletic. He's obviously very smart. He plays ahead of the snap on a consistent basis. Big challenge against a good Miami defense on Monday night. But, yeah, there's a lot that you're going to be very much so measurable-wise and intangible-wise that you like about Mendoza.
It feels clear, and I think your point was a good one, with Dante Moore out of the picture. The Raiders have an interesting decision.
Right.
Either draft their quarterback of the future and build around him, or if your cupboard is bare, get the King's ransom that he probably would bring. All right, let's put the picks up on the screen because we're going to see at least one Miami helmet up there. That's
Josh
under the
Pate.
face of Josh Pate.
Grasping at straws.
You think one more, playing in their home stadium with that defense, you're taking the Hurricanes?
I know you probably have a far more poetic way than me of talking about how fine the line is between bravery and ignorance and stupidity. And I'm there. I'm walking the tightrope with the pole in my hand. Here's what I think. I think Indiana has been the most consistent and high-level commodity we've seen all year. I look at them as cruising at 39,000 feet. My only question in this game is, does Miami possess the ability at their best to just hang out at 40,000 feet long enough to win a football game? They don't need to be better over the course of a season. They need to be better in their home building over the course of 60 minutes. It all comes down to what I think they can do on the lines of scrimmage. It all comes down to the way they present unique problems to Indiana, potentially in this game, that other teams may not have. And Indiana, if you can force them to work on third down a lot more than others have, that I think is the tipping point one way or the other in this thing. I just rolled the dice on Miami being able to do that. And so I'm going to pick him to win the game outright.
You're buying it, Lewan.
Josh Pate posed this question to me yesterday when we were shooting the locker room.
Yeah.
And he asked me, is Miami's best game capable of beating Indiana? And the answer to that question is yes. Miami has the talent and they have the players to be able to go and beat Indiana. What I look at when I'm watching the film of both these teams is Indiana, as Josh Pate put perfectly, is they don't make mistakes. They're the most well-coached team in all of college football. And Fernando Mendoza, on every play, because he has more RPOs than any other college football quarterback, he has multiple outlets to neutralize this defensive line. So I just see, I'm going to take the proven product, and that's Indiana.
Quick finish, Compton.
Back shoulder ball. I just don't see how Miami's going to stop it. You watch it throughout the course of that game against Oregon last week, like Mendoza puts the ball perfectly in those windows, and I just don't see how they're going to compete with Surratt and Cooper.
We're 4 days away from the national championship.
You want this, you got that. No way, watch them walk right past you.